go to Nina Deeb.
My name is Nina Deeb. I am a real estate broker in this province since I'm a full-time realtor since 1996. My career pre-exists most of the regulators in this province, and there have been more and more regulators since I've become a realtor. These are private entities. My recommendations on this budget, I actually did speak at pre-budget consultation, and I had some recommendations mostly on housing. One of the things I have noticed here is the Ontario Place sale. So the government action as the agent representing the people of Ontario in a real estate transaction of public lands. Contract law in Ontario, represented parties in a real estate transaction include an acknowledgement section that stipulates that the parties to the contract have received a copy of their contract and are aware of their commitments from their representative. I request a written copy of this lease. The Ontario Science Centre, status quo, that does not need to be changed. That should remain as it is. Highways, I would like to remove the Highway 413 in Bradford from the budget. We should not be building these highways. This is not the time for highway building. The Highway 407 is underused and overpriced. It already exists and we should be using it. This is the immediate and best solution to our traffic congestion. We should be using the already built 407. Transit, I'm very happy with the tunneling and the boring machines. I do support this transit growth. More of this form of transit is encouraged. The most appropriate location for transit planning in large cities is underground. Building, the budget plans to build new highways, new roads, schools, hospitals, long-term care homes, and transit. What's missing is housing. We should be building housing as our number one priority. It shouldn't come behind all these other provincial projects. Revenue, not-for-profits. There's approximately 59,000 not-for-profits in this province. While the province plans to grow revenues by approximately 5% per year, there are billions of dollars escaping taxation. Very wealthy private corporations are qualifying as not-for-profits. Some of these entities are grossing in the range of $1 million per employee. These corporations that are not paying taxes have been awarded fines without hearings. I spoke out on this. I sat in this very chair and I spoke out against fines without hearings for private entities. This has been passed and this exists in our economy now. One of these private entities has bought and sold $25.63 million in Toronto worth of real estate in the last year. These corporations are very wealthy and they should be paying taxes. They have stood alongside true not-for-profits and claim to be not-for-profit too. They're very wealthy. They actually have more money than the government. As far as Ontario Health Premium, the economic outlook to increase by approximately 5% per year. I am an employer in this province. This makes Ontario a more expensive location for employers to locate and operate. The CPP ceiling has increased to $7,508.90 from $6,999.60, an increase of 7.3%. The CPP ceiling has increased by $2,011.10 over COVID since 2019. This increase equates to $1 an hour for a full-time employee. This makes Canada a much more expensive location for any employer to locate or operate. This does not encourage investment. As far as reserve funds, the province is holding approximately $1 billion and then looking to hold $4 billion. These funds should not be held by the province. These reserves are inappropriate. Page 16, the $5.4 billion to help colleges and universities. I do not support this. Colleges and universities should be ensuring appropriate levels of student residence spaces for the international students that they invite to Ontario are housed. This is creating a housing deficit within the true market. This excludes, for my opinion on this, excludes the Indigenous institutes which are supported. Colleges, so Conestoga College, which operates in my region, in Waterloo region, they have 5 locations. They have a residence with 520 beds, and they have close to 19,000 international students. I don't think this is appropriate. The colleges shouldn't be on the receiving ends of any tax dollars. The colleges should be audited on their student housing quotas and what they have, and they should be, prior to inviting more students to Ontario. I am very supportive of international students and all students in general, but we need appropriate housing. And then on page, also reduce an administrative burden. The reduction of administration shouldn't be for the administrators. This actually misses the point. It should be for the people that are being administered and for the people that are paying these fees, and it should be relief for consumers, not for administrators. And then the Ontario Investment Tax Credit, 10% refundable corporate income tax credit for investments by Canadian-controlled private corporations. I don't support this. I don't believe in giving subsidies to new corporations coming here. There is a lot of subsidies already in place for this, and a 10% reduction, which is a subsidy by the taxpayer. I don't agree with this. Modernizing the capital markets and financial services on page 39. Enhancing consumer protection requires transparency and accountability.
1 minute.
NGOs are freely operating while consistently lobbying government for profits, financial penalties, unappealable decisions, and to not pay taxes. Not-for-profit definitions have loosely embraced these private entities. And page 52, the province works to help build 1.5 million homes. A bold plan requires a budget. The province must invest taxpayer money to help. The province has collected over $20 billion of first-level taxation on housing sales. Indigenous consultations should occur and be considered prior to the decisions being made. $15 billion should be downloaded to the 444 municipalities to support supportive, affordable housing. In addition, the municipalities should be made whole, as was promised by the government regarding the negative financial impacts of Bill 23 on municipal financial affairs. This has left a very big hole in our infrastructure on municipalities. The province of Ontario downloaded housing responsibilities to the municipalities in the mid-90s.
Thank you very much. That concludes the time for this presentation.
Do you see the labor shortage, and what is your suggestion how we can solve the labor shortage problem in this province?
The labor shortage is going to continue because the environment doesn't exist for the youth to remain. I'm the mother of 2 teenagers, and it's quite devastating to me to hear them plan to leave. My children don't plan on staying in Ontario. They are 15 and 17, and they're not staying here. They both plan on leaving as soon as they can. So from the perspective of what is happening, we are paying people to leave. And the environment is not, we're aborting our youth. So I would like to make it more, I would like to keep our children here. I'd like them to come visit me. I don't want to leave Ontario. And it's really creating it's very sad. It's a very sad situation in Ontario right now. The environment is not of prosperity. They don't see hope for them here. And they're going where they are seeing hope. And I'm listening to other provinces market my children and my clients' children, and it's why I'm here. Like I don't want to lose our next generation. I want them to stay, and I'd like more people to come, but I'd like them to stay.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that. That's it from me, Chair.
You obviously have a concern about the direction of this government in terms of Highway 413 and other things. You seem to have certain things that you want to see and certain things you don't want to see. Could you elaborate to me why you feel that the 413 should not be built?
I really just want to grow responsibly. Like I just see that we have assets that we're not using. So from the perspective of using what we already have, there's already alternatives, and it's a very expensive. Like the plan that we have there, it's $10 billion per year for 10 years. That's a lot of money. And quite honestly, we need it in housing. Like we just need that money for housing. People need to live somewhere first. We need the workers to build those highways. We need the workers to, it's just premature. It's not that I'm totally against it. It's premature. I'm not for that right now. I'm all about certain, like the widenings and the certain things I'm very supportive of.
So there's any facts finding around why you are suggesting not that road and the 407, because as you know, that's a private road?
Oh, yes, I've.
How are we going to just jump up and say, we take the 407? People pay on that road, and I can tell you,
Yes.
for the times I've gone on that road, some of these trips are $50.
That's a problem. So that's private equity. That's a pension fund that's controlling a major tract of land in Ontario. The majority owner of the 407 is CPP Investments.
But we're realizing that's a corporation, and we cannot go and interfere in corporation and say, hey, somebody got to pay for that, right?
That's
so
true.
That's the reason we are having urban sprawls where people have to get into the city to come to work and do all those kinds of things. So how do we do it? We got to build roads for people, right?
I think the way to do it is not to give up public lands to private corporations.
Okay. It's sad to say that I agree, and it's sad to hear that your children want to move from here. But over the next 10 years, by 2031, there'll be 2 million additional people living here in the province of Ontario. How we plan to deal with that?
Well, we need budget. We need money to build houses. So without money, we definitely won't build anything. Like to ask everyone else to come and make their commitments, the municipalities, the commitments they're making, they can't follow through with because the infrastructure is not going to be there. We're just putting things out of order. We're not developing in the order that we should be. It's much more expensive to develop the way that we're trying to develop. Developing by brute force is definitely get things done, but you're going to roll over there's a lot of destruction in the way.
Nina, I want to come to you now. You touched on, I feel like you went through the entire bill and did a lot of homework on every single schedule of it. So thank you very, very much. I really appreciated your comments about the Ontario Place and I appreciate, the sort of the reflection on what we're facing right now when it comes to the and the fact that was, leased for all these years, and right now we're seeing sort of a replica of that with Ontario Place, and the lease of 95 years, and it's public land, just like the 407, which was built by using tax dollars, and now we have to pay to get on it. It's extremely expensive, and here we are with the really congested 401, and I think that comparison it really highlights what we're facing with the threat of this giant 95-year lease for Ontario Place. I would love to hear, I hope you can elaborate a little bit in terms of what it means to really respect tax dollars, like people's hard-earned money. And as a mother, I think it really matters to you in terms of the public services and how do we retain what we have.
What I'm seeing public assets being moved to pension funds, private equity. What we're seeing in healthcare, this has already happened in America, and the private equity behind that was Blackstone Private Equity, operating under, I think it was called Health Inc. or something like that, but it was Blackstone that was behind the hospital and healthcare privatization in America, and it made things more expensive. As far as pension funds go, we have the Teachers Pension Fund that owns one of the mortgage default companies in Canada. We have the CPP Investments that owns the 407, and we have also OMERS that owns the Ontario Land Registry System. This has all happened during my career, so I've watched all this very carefully. These are all real estate assets, and these are all things that have been turned into billionaire corporations, but they were all originally public assets. So Ontario Place, to me, is following in the same line. Do you want your time back? If I talked,
No,
okay. I see that as following in the same lines. So this is the privatization of public spaces, and this should remain in the public's books, not to be sold off, not to be a spa. I drove by Ontario Place this morning purposely. I came down Lakeshore, and it was beautiful. There were so many people there just to enjoy it.
Yeah, and one of the I think the difficult part of it is that people want answers. They want to know what the numbers look like, what the contract looks like, and this government has been really behind closed doors with a lot of these details, and people want to know exactly what's going on with their land, with their money, and the government and the minister should be very open and transparent about it, and that's missing right now.